Hi Jason, thanks for your feedback in your post. Please bear with me with my voice and everything. Went to the doctor today and tested positive for strep throat, so I'm gonna try and get through this. It has not been fun all day today, so I apologize in advance. You mentioned this idea, and I completely agree with the idea that you mentioned of the Western influence in the Middle East, especially in Turkey, and how the Middle East seems to have this negative perception of the West, whereas Turkey seems to have somewhat of a positive perception. They've had some scuffles here and there with the West, but along the way, the West has been fairly decent to Turkey. Therefore, democracy has been somewhat successful in Turkey, and Turkey has had a pretty decent relationship with the West. However, I believe this Middle East has this negative perception because of the long withstanding history of the relationship between the Middle East and the West, and it's hard to agree with somebody and it's hard to adopt the same ideologies or somewhat of the same ideologies as principle as someone when you've had scuffles with them throughout almost the entire history of your country, and it creates this negative perception, and it creates, like you said, they don't want to adapt to Western ideas and Western principles. So I just found a few points of the history of the relationship between the West and the Middle East to just show how divided the Middle East is and how the Middle East may be fully against the West for these reasons. So in the 11th century, the Pope of Rome declares the Crusades to seize Jerusalem from the Arabs. That's obviously um, creates this idea of a negative viewpoint because they're trying to come in and control and get rid of the Arabs and all that. And then 1783 to 1912, we see this scramble of European countries to the Middle East to try and seize countries. One example is British seized Egypt and Sudan, and various other countries also seized countries. So this creates a negative perception because the West is going in and seizing these countries, and these countries just don't want to be seized. They want to be left alone to adopt their own ideologies. World War II, countries fell to Britain and France. Um, for instance, Iraq, Syria, and Lebanon were some of those countries that fell under control of Britain and France, which once again creates this negative perception and this idea that they don't want anything to do with the West because the West has taken so much time in seizing them throughout history. And some of the most current is the Islamic Revolution in Iran, the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, the Iran-Iraq War, and Kuwait. The U.S. had a significant amount of involvement in these instances as well as other European countries. So I think the Middle East has this unwillingness to adapt to um, Western principles because they've been attempted to be controlled by the West for so long, and it's create this viewpoint that they don't want anything to do with them because of how the West has been throughout history. So I just wanted to touch a point on that. I think you did an awesome job talking about the adaptation between the Middle East and Turkey and how Turkey was able to adapt to the West and democracy was able to be founded in Turkey. So thanks again for your post, and I look forward to hearing more.